Back again, back again. We are back again. How's it going, everyone? Deleg, you're already running off. It's a good evening to you, Deleg. We've got Geishin here. Kora, as we've realized last time, KODB's in here. The Swelly Swell Man is in here. Black Ice, we've got the whole gang is in here. So let's jump into this challenge. We'll do our usual tests. So let me know if the mic is working. So yeah, with this assignment, a little bit different. This idea that I got was from Grout. I remember he made the suggestion in our chat like a couple streams ago. I talked about it'd be an interesting challenge to do something that was like make an aggressive beat. And to me, aggressive beats are typically the way I usually create them. Hopefully my mic is on right now. Whenever I want to make like an aggressive, energetic beat, I would go high in rhythm, low in musicality. So I thought instead of just making the instructions make an aggressive beat, I thought I might as well be a little bit more specific with what I want. So high in rhythm, low in musicality. And the BPM must be between 60 and 70. So yeah, I'm interested to see what you guys come up with this challenge. But yeah, let me know if the mic is working, and then we'll do the usual audio test. I apologize for making or jumping up 2 hours early all of a sudden. Sean says he uploaded 5 minutes ago. Awesome. But yeah, I apologize for pushing this up 2 hours early. I have an electrician coming in 3 hours. So yeah, Robbie's in here. Can someone let me know if my mic is working, please? Am I not even alive right now? Am I live? Where am I right now? What's happening, everyone? Don't have to work because my wife has COVID. So, oh geez. Hopefully, I've known a lot of people that have caught it within like the last month or so, but luckily the symptoms seem to be very passive. So hopefully it's the same for your wife. The mic is good. Awesome. Let's do a quick little audio test here. What? So let me know if we're coming through there. Mic is good. Harmiter's in here as well. How's it going? My mic sounds extra sexy today. My God. All right, so let me know if that audio is good. And if so, we'll get right to it. But yeah, hopefully you guys are having a good Easter weekend. I don't know how it works for where you guys are, but over here, we get a 4-day weekend, which is, I guess it makes no difference to me, but yeah, let me know. I know in the United States, you guys only get like a few days off, like officially a year. I think Canada gets more days off, like once a month usually. All right, audio is working, but yeah. Let me know, what are your summer plans, guys? I have a trip to Europe for a wedding in beginning of July. And I'm also moving back to Toronto like 5 days before. So July is going to be a hectic month for me. Yeah, if you guys have any vacation plans, hit me with it. Let me know. All right. So where am I? Let's just start with Harmiter's beat here since we already got it open. So yeah, like I mentioned, low musicality, high rhythm. Let's see what you guys come up with. And also if one of you guys, I know I pushed the stream up 2 hours early. So if you're watching this and you thought the submission was going to be 2 hours from now, and you made a beat but you just didn't enter it in, just DM me and then I'll do I'll review the beat personally, just because it's not fair for the people who thought it was going to be at 6 p.m. when it's at 4 p.m. Anyways, enough jibber jabber. Let's listen to this beat. Share your guys' feedback as usual, and yeah, let me know what you guys hear in the beat as well. Cool outro. Very good attention to detail, especially on that outro too. So that was Harmiter's beat right there. Red Bunny's in here. How's it going, guys? Disneyland in October for the niece's birthday. That's fun. Whoa! You've got a motorcycle? That's a badass, man. Need to find some off-road areas. Rob, you're going to be moving with your gal also. It's going to be my first time moving in with my gal, so we'll see how that experience is. I could have used the extra 2 hours for mixing, but it should be okay, though I haven't listened to it in my car yet. Well, I won't be listening it to my car either, so hopefully that's even listening experiences for the both of us. Oh, you're in Hawaii? Yeah, you remember you telling me that we're going to Maui. Let me know where I should go if you're familiar with Maui. Red Octanes mentions that seems like the bass type of sound is a POI, which seems more melodic. Feeling it though. Red Bunny says unique, like all the little background sounds, super spacey. Wish the snare was mixed a little bit louder with more crack. Upbeat part and the breakdown is cool. Good work, Harmiter. So yeah, my takeaway with this beat, I'm on the highway right now. I'll let you know how it sounds. As always, great drum work with Harmiter. It's pretty interesting how you've got a very distinct sound, and that for a lot of people is a challenge to come up with. And I think you definitely, the way you mix all your sounds and sound selection and everything, definitely have a distinct sound to your beat. Or to your beats in general. Definitely on brand with this beat. Like I mentioned, the great drum work and just where the sounds all sit and the way everything sort of sounds very lo-fi. I don't know if that's the correct word for it, but just low fidelity in the actual literal sense. Just like what Cora mentioned, I really enjoy the sort of ethereal sounds in the background and the way he sort of played with the arrangement, where one of the sounds sort of came in and out throughout like a 2 or 4 bar sort of period. So instead of just having all your sounds come in at once, you sort of played with the volume and sort of used automation, which was really good. Go to Hannah on Maui. The road to Hannah is very famous. Is Hannah a person? You want me to go to a person named Hannah? With the beat, a great job of the rhythmic variations as well in terms of the arrangement. I really liked the sort of drum fills, and one section in the beat where you just completely played around with the drum break, and they created a bunch of fills and like this cool rhythm. And I think just the attention to detail on that level was awesome. I think with the beat, I would have liked a little bit more diversity of sounds. So just like Cora mentioned, the bass was a sort of POI, and the core of the beat was just basically a bass as well as the drums. I just would have liked maybe a little bit more in terms of just like another sound that was also in the focus of the beat, that was also like the POI, even if it's just like a very repetitive stab type of sound. I'm trying to think of a good example of what that might be. I might have included one of the examples that I mentioned in the group chat for the type of beat that I can't remember what I suggested, but yeah, I think just a little bit more diversity of sounds, and just like 1 or 2 additional sounds that were like sort of the driving force, the focus of the beat. That would have been nice, because a lot of the additional sounds that you added in were very ethereal and very in the background, and they definitely did fit well, but it felt like the beat was a little bit too bare bones for my liking. I just would have liked another additional sound that had a lot of rich character to it, because I know you're completely capable of creating these really interesting, unique sounds, and just having that also be in the beat. And like I mentioned, it doesn't necessarily have to be a musical sound either. Just like a repetitive stab can go a long way. But yeah, overall, great attention to detail, great work with the structuring. I really liked the arrangement as well. Just the focus on creating variation without having to completely shift to your entire idea. Like I mentioned in the last review here, I think you're doing a great job of that. So yeah, awesome work. Hannah is a town on the back side of the island. So I think the resort that we booked is on the west side of the island, northwest. So where is it on the island? Through jungle. That sounds scary. I'm shipping my bike. Come out to Maui with me. I think the non-organic sounds would have been really nice. Non-organic sounds, like a very synthy sound, you mean, Rob? That'd be an interesting idea. A sort of collage, a mishmash of synthetic and organic, like a cyborg type beat. I like the way you think. All right, Pseudo, let's see what Pseudo 310's got for us. right, that was Pseudo's beat, Aha as Jet Ko'au. Very interesting title there. Did I highlight it? I have not. There we go. Let's see what you everyone's saying here. Sinister already, like your style. Love this industrial sound. I dig this. The new Kanye would love this. Wish it would have dropped a little earlier, but still worked. Feel like I'm supposed to be in like deep dark space hunting something. This track is nice. Reminds me of a 2022 remix, Elevators by Outkast. Oh, that sounds like... I was just listening to Elevators yesterday, actually. I think keeping more of the sounds instrumentation in for longer would be nice, says Cora. Very cool. So love the industrial style and sounds tough. So yeah, with my take with this beat, I really love this sort of feel. I think Pseudo mentioned last stream that his aim was to make a sort of Death Grips type of sound, and I think he definitely accomplished it with this beat in particular. Like I mentioned, the great use of noise just to fill up room in the beat. Very smart idea. Great bass programming as well. I really liked how it sounded like there was multiple basses used in this beat. There's a very sort of distorted, crunchy bass, and then he had like a bass sitting underneath it, which played for like a little bit longer than the distorted one. And that was a really cool idea. I really liked that synth riff in the beat was just so awesome. That to me was like my favorite part of the beat, and I think overall I would have liked for that sound to be introduced in the beat a little bit earlier, just because it sounds like what the chat is mentioning, where for the first like third of the beat it sort of took a very long time for me to really figure out what the beat was sort of going for. I think if you introduce that sound like really early on in the beat, it would have filled up a lot more space and just made the beat a little bit more interesting, just because for the first third it was just like very aggressive bass, and we have a very sparse sort of amount of rhythm in the beat. And so I think having that sound be introduced a little bit earlier would have been nice. And just like Cora mentioned as well, I know the beat sort of really picked up and had a lot more energy for the hook. I think just taking maybe a little bit more, maybe one or two of the sounds that you introduce for the hook, and just have those play for the verse section, just to add a little bit more rhythm, a little bit more presence for the verse section would have been nice. Having said that, if the vocal performance was very over the top and aggressive as you sort of aim for with a sort of Death Grips idea, I really do understand how minimal and sparse a verse section like this would have made sense. So yeah, really awesome sort of industrial feel to this. But overall, even if you didn't introduce certain sounds during the verse section and you didn't want to keep it a little bit more minimal, nonetheless I do think some type of variation would have been nice. Some rhythmic variation, you can just play around with the bass tone as well as the drums and sort of create these little fills and just create some way to sort of keep the verse section interesting. Like I mentioned, you had multiple basses from the sound of it, even like ducking down one of the basses and really minimizing. I mean, I say this all the time, but like with this beat especially, if you just had like the noise as well as just like a very subby bass play every now and again and really strip the idea down, that would have made the beat a little bit more engaging to listen to for the verse section. But yeah, overall, I really loved the core idea. That synth riff was just so awesome to me. I really loved that. And the beat definitely picked up to a sort of good amount for the hook section. I think the verse section could have used a little bit more sort of detail in one respect or another, whether it's adding sounds or just playing with the structure and removing sounds. Just play with the arrangement there. I think you would have been golden. And just like I mentioned before, your aim here was, I assume, to make a very industrial type of beat, and I think you succeeded with that overall. I like this beat a lot more than the one that you made for the last challenge. So yeah, awesome job there. Kudos to you. Coolant, let's see what young Coolant has for us. right. That was Coolant Beats. Coolant's really been picking it up. That was an awesome beat there. Big strides are being made by Coolant. Sorry, I apologize once again for screwing around with the volume suddenly. The YouTube volume was low, so my bad, everyone. What are you guys saying here? Diamonds and Maybachs. I'm afraid to turn it up now. My bad. I like the bass underneath the whole thing. Love how open it is and then drops in perfectly. Great arrangement. Great job making it minimal, yet sounds full. That was good. Geez, the chopped up part at the end was a really clever way to finish it. Really digging that. Don't know what to say with this one. Very well done, Coolant. Yeah, I definitely agree. This was a very, very well done beat. Awesome use of textures. I think if you're going with a very rhythmic focused beat, you need to go the extra distance to like make sure the rhythmic sounds that you use take up a lot of room, just because like a short little tick of a hi-hat might not be enough if you're sort of reliant on rhythm. And I think just the unique, awesome sounding hi-hats, like the sort of, I don't know if it was like a hi-hat or a crash cymbal or a ride cymbal, sorry. But yeah, that sort of texture that was used to really drive the beat was just so unique and just awesome. Really smart idea, just making it so unique and a lot of personality with that sound. I liked the arrangement. Again, I think this is a very great example of what I was talking about compared to the last beat. A lot of like small little changes and variations throughout the entire arrangement with the rhythmic components of the beat, and you guys heard it as well when he just really stripped the beat down and it was just the bass at one point. I mean, it still sounded awesome because like we heard how the beat sounded when it had a little bit more textures in it, and then when he dropped it, we're all just sort of anticipating, waiting for the beat to come back in. So that's why I always say, like, don't be afraid to really minimize your beats at times for your arrangement, because it can just really help create this sort of anticipation like we heard with this beat. The attention to detail was just awesome with the arrangement overall. I don't really have anything negative to say. My thinking here is that this is meant to be for an artist to use. I might have added a little bit more color on top of the bass, a little bit more distortion, just so it takes up a tiny bit more room. But that would, I guess, depend on how present and what the vocal range is for an artist to use this. So it might be a better idea to make it a little bit more open like you did here. Overall, awesome idea. And I don't really have anything negative to say. Maybe when I think about it, some noise in the background just to keep the beat feeling a little bit more even throughout when you sort of duck down everything. Much like what we heard with Pseudo's beat, just using a small layer of sound throughout the beat can really help. But again, I'm nitpicking with this one. I think this is an awesome beat overall. Rob says the mix could feel louder. I don't know. That might be my fault there. How long do these streams go for? It'll probably be 2 hours, so don't be afraid to jump up if you need to. Also a nice industrial feel, solid beat. Yeah, I agree. This is a very Yeezus type beat as he described, and I think he hit that idea perfectly. Let's see what Sunny Says has for us. All right, that was Sunny's beat there. Let's see what you guys are saying. Here, Eric's in here. How's it going? We haven't seen a submission from Eric in a while. I'm interested to see what you can make. I couldn't figure out what to do. Interesting. I think the 808 needs a bit more oomph, not a lot though. I think this is out of tune, says Red Bunny. 808 needs some Saturn on it. So with this beat, my takeaway is that overall great job of the attention to sort of the rhythmic components in this beat. You went the extra distance to really create a lot of variation. And I applaud you for that, just because it's difficult to keep the beat interesting with the sort of restrictions that I've added. And it sounds like you've really tried to push your way to really focus on the rhythm to create variation and sort of keep the beat interesting. Went full on drum and bass, like it. Bass seemed a little odd though, maybe just too loud, like these drum patterns. So with this beat, my takeaway though is that it needed some bigger sound in here, some focal point. As of right now, it was just drums and the 808. And like you guys mentioned, I think the 808, from the sounds of it, I mean, there was really nothing musical in this beat. So like, I think if the 808 just sat in a different frequency space, maybe had a little bit more color, just like Black Ice mentioned, that might have help the beat, or sorry, help the 808 sit in a little bit of a better spot. But overall, I still do think that the beat sort of needed some other sound in here. And it sounded like this beat had sort of zero musicality. The challenge was low in musicality, so you can play around with a few extra notes here and there. But it sounded like, I don't think I heard it was just one 808 note, and everything else was just a percussive sound. And even with the percussive sounds, like I mentioned, I think this is a great sort of juxtaposition to Coolant's beat, where Coolant had his percussive sounds, his rhythmic sounds be very sort of character driven, a lot more colorful. And I think Sunny here sort of skipped out on that. And there weren't very many sort of rhythmic percussive sounds that felt like they were unique in any way. They felt very utilitarian. Even for the ones that did sound a little bit more unique, they were just very small and minimal. Like I think it sounded like there was like a water dropping type of effect in here, like a water dropping sort of sound effect, I mean. And, you know, taking those types of sounds and really making those the focal point, adding a lot more depth to them, and making them a lot more larger, that could have been like the sort of bigger sound that you need in this beat. But yeah, overall, this felt like a little bit more of a bare bones, stripped down idea, and just needed a little bit more character in it, just because nothing in here really sort of stood out to me. But yeah, awesome job with the sort of attention to detail with the rhythm. But I do think the sort of lacking of a POI, if you want to use the course's terms, I think that's what sort of hurt this beat in the end. Geisha, your beat's up next. was B-Day Jam by Geisha. Was it your birthday recently, Geisha? If so, happy belated to you. I was struggling too, was overthinking it for sure. Low musicality, high rhythm is my entire production. I'm starting to think this is not the best challenge. Too vague. I had no idea it's supposed to be aggressive. It didn't necessarily have to be aggressive. My bad for the sort of vagueness. I guess I'm trying to use the terms within the sort of course update to sort of make sense of what I was thinking. But I think it would have been a good idea if I actually included some examples in the description as well, so you guys could hear what I had in mind. So my bad. Very clean bass and nice line. Playboy Cardi in the cut, like, yeah. Full trumps aggressive, in my opinion. This is very cloud rap, like, hell yeah. Tell you what, my takeaway with this beat, I'm not sure whether it fits the sort of prompt I was going for. It did feel a bit musical. And it was very rhythmic as well, but it felt a little bit musical. But again, I'll say that's my bad for being too vague. I think I did like the sort of variation with the rhythmic sounds, how you used a lot of different rhythmic sounds with the crash as well as the typical drum sounds. I really like that sort of section where you had the crash sort of hitting on every beat. That's the sort of technique that I like to use in my beats to really get very hyped up. I think overall though, what I would it was March 31st, so yeah, happy belated. I think what I would challenge you to do, Geisha, something that I've noticed in a lot of your beats is that you prefer to use a lot of high sustained sounds, and I think one of the things that might cause you sort of production troubles is if you use high sustained sounds, for example, with the bass in this beat as well as the chords, you're going to be, and the sort of sounds that were used are very, very powerful and very central with the sort of chords. They sounded very, very, they took up a lot of frequency space, and I know you like very large basses as well. When you sort of use those types of textures, it can be a challenge at that point to sort of figure out how to add more sounds into your beat, just because those sounds, those sort of high sustained sounds just end up just taking up so much room. So I think what I would challenge you to do for the next challenge or the one after that, whenever you submit again, investigate using sort of more transient pluckier sounds, so like bells or sort of little plucks or mallet sounds, also piano sounds. And for your chords or your bass line, see if you can try to move away from something that's a little bit more sustained and try to put together a beat using more plucky transient sounds. I'm interested to see how your production sounds in that sort of situation, because if one of the things that you struggle with is trying to figure out how to add sounds into your beat, and you feel like you sort of constantly run into like not being left with enough room, that might be something that could be very transformative. So yeah, I think that's my sort of challenge specifically to you. So yeah, I'd be interested to hear what you come up with. Is the bass line musical though? Yeah, so I think this is sort of what I talked about before. The YouTube examples you showed us helped a lot as to what you were looking for. Yeah, I think once I shared those, it sort of made sense for a lot of people. So I probably should have added those in the actual description. So my bad, guys. I think mine may be considered a musical. My God, Black Ice, what have you done? Grout explained it very well. If people saw that, not so much that you can't have a melody or be musical, just more that it isn't the POI. That's a good way of putting it. All right, let's jump over to Corbin's beat.
Now give me that trap that. Yeah, now give me that trap that. Yeah, that what? Don't give me no trap that. Yeah, say what? Just give me that.
All right. Cora, or is it Core A? We will never know. We will never, ever know. All right, that was Cora's beat there. I'll try to incorporate more into this beat possibly and try it overall. Even for your next challenge or like whatever you create next, it'd be interesting to hear just like from the ground up, using a beat or creating a beat using those sort of more transient sounds. I think figuring out how to sort of use those sounds can be a really big game changer. I know it was for me. I definitely like those sort of very high sustained basses that you like to use as well. And I just always had a hard time balancing my beats because it just felt like there was never any room after those beats. I was always struggling to like add more for the hook, for example. And I eventually realized that like using those types of high sustained sounds just really does fill up a lot of space in the beat, and like trying to sort of shift over to using more transient sounds in my beats really helped me with the arrangement part of the beats. I sort of like to save those types of more sustained sounds for the hook just to create more energy, but for when it comes to creating like a verse section, something that's a little bit more minimal, using more plucky transient sounds can be very helpful. My POI is a Vox sound in the beat. It sounds like it might be a good idea. I know, remember those beats from Lil Wayne back in the day, 6'7", and what was the other really famous, huge song that he had that had a vocal sample? I can't remember. Gordon Ramsay in the Kitchen type beat. This is very much a lunchroom battle type beat. This would be easy to rap because it has a lot of quirky rhythm to it. Cool drum kit rhythm, nice mix. I enjoy the pitch Vox. Same with my takeaway with this beat. Good use of the unique textures for the actual rhythmic sounds. Sound like you had like a sword swiping, like really a lot of attention to detail was put for the actual textures that you used for the rhythmic elements. I would say though, outside of that, I would have liked for more variation with the other sounds in here. Just because the sort of sounds that you use for the melodic component it just wasn't really that engaging to me. It was sort of in the background. It was not a focal point in the beat, which is fine, but I just would have liked something else that was just more personality to it, that was a little bit more forward and upfront in the beat. Again, this is probably my fault for not being a little bit more clear with the instructions. And also would have liked a little bit more attention to detail with the actual arrangement. After a while, it did feel like it got a little bit repetitive with the exact same thing sort of repeating over and over again, the sort of same musical phrase, and there wasn't that much variation put into the actual sort of different types of variations that you could have used with the actual arrangement, like rhythmic variation. There was a little bit of size variation. It did pick up in terms of how many sounds that you used, but it never really deviated that far away from just that core loop that you had in here. You could have sort of switched out different rhythmic sounds as well. That might have been an idea, but yeah, nonetheless, it just felt like it was sort of halfway there. That's an interesting question, Harmider. Who gets to pick the POI, the beat maker or the listener? I think for beats that like really do a good job of getting across their point, a lot of people will sort of point to certain, like a very sort of specific sound and like really fall in love with it. That's just my takeaway. Obviously, music's going to be subjective, and there's going to be people who really love like the drum in a beat, or like really love different aspects to it. But overall, I feel like there does need to be something unique, something that sort of stands out outside of the usual textures, that needs to be sort of in the spotlight of the beat. That's sort of my takeaway. That's something that I talked about with the finishing a beat section and the sort of course update, which was when you're sort of figuring out which sounds to keep and which sounds to put in the spotlight, usually the POI, that's the sound that you want to make the sort of focal point of your beat. And that's like what a lot of people will sort of allude to as like the catchy sound in the beat. Like so many examples pop up in my head. We're talking about the Lil Wayne song, that's 6'7". That vocal sample is a sort of POI in that. Or whether it's like a song like Mask Off, where like the flute is the sort of POI in that. I think a lot of the times it's just picking a sound that has a really unique character to it can really help it jump out, and just the way you sort of produce around it can really help the sort of listener understand what you're going for. It does speak to my mix difficulties. So yeah, this is sort of something that I talk about all the time. When I first started making beats, I always thought my issue was mixing and mastering. I tried to learn so much more about it, took courses, paid thousands of dollars, worked with engineers, and my beats still didn't sound how I wanted them to. And I realized it was because of the production choices that I was making, and it really limited my production and really sort of hurt. It hurt my ability to produce what I wanted, just because I was choosing the wrong types of sounds and not really understanding how to put different sounds together. Hopefully, I think in your case, investigating and exploring sort of transient sounds might be a big game changer. Sword, scissors, and a lighter. But yeah, I tried to push that simple melody to the back. Ye old drum kit. But yeah, Cora, I think a lot of focus was put on the sort of rhythmic elements, which I really liked. But I think pushing the idea a little bit further and sort of coming up with a more of a focal point in the beat that had a little bit more character would have been nice. Because the Moog bass was not my POI, it was the SP1200 sounds, not the real one. Which sounds were the SP1200 sounds in your beat? Because to me, the way the beat was mixed, the two very dominant sounds in your beat, Harmider, were the drums as well as the bass. If you're talking about the sort of ethereal sounds, they were sort of pushed to the background and weren't sort of produced to be the focus from what I heard, which is sort of what some of the other people in the chat mentioned too, that they sort of characterize them as more ethereal sounds. So yeah, I'm interested to hear what you mean by SP1200 sounds. All right, let's jump on over to Black Ice's beat, a J. Cole type beat.
Thank you, Black Ice.
right. That was Black Ice's beat there. Black Ice. So let's see what you guys are saying here. Definitely going to revisit it. I had to rush it a bit this morning, so the arrangement wasn't to my liking. Tried to cut stuff out and keep it non-repetitive, but couldn't avoid using the same sounds. Fair enough. Those detuned keys sound so cool. A little quiet in the mixing. Who produced which parts? Oh, Black Ice produced it all. So I think with his beat, I like the chord progression. I like the musicality in it, but I don't think it's a right fit for the actual prompt for the challenge itself. Again, I really do like the sounds that you used for like I agree with Sean, the sort of detuned keys sounded really nice. Definitely did sound like a sort of J. Cole type beat, so I think what you're trying to aim for, you did succeed there, but I think for the prompt itself, I felt a little bit more focused on musicality to really drive and push the beat, so it didn't really necessarily feel like the beat was driven by the amount of rhythm in the beat, just because it had a very typical it had a very typical hi-hat pattern, for example, a very 16th pattern. The chords as well as the bass played with the exact same rhythm. They didn't really feel like they had a very unique sort of out there rhythm to those sounds. So to me, when I listened to this beat, it felt very driven by the musicality, the chord progression, as opposed to like a crazy sense of rhythm. So again, that's just the prompt, and that might be my bad for not being specific and clear enough with my instructions. I'm not sure whether it's my own ears, but the Vox sample felt like it was not in key when I used the shorter stabs. Again, that just might be too much earwax in my ear, but it felt like a little bit off. It wasn't completely tuned. The snare, also you added like a lot of reverb onto it, and it sort of felt like the beat wasn't as present because of it. So one of the things that I mentioned in a video that I put out a while ago is sometimes when I want to sort of make sure a snare is very present, but also add some reverb onto it just so it takes up a little bit more space, is keep the reverb signal dry and then send it to a different insert and then add reverb onto that insert so you can control how much reverb gets put onto it. Because if you put reverb directly onto a snare and the reverb only has a dry wet knob without the ability to control how much dry and how much wet, you don't have the ability to control if you want to keep the dry to 100 and how much wet you can add, I should say. Then at that point, if you start playing with a mix dial, that can really remove how present your snare is. And I think that seems to be what happened here. If it was meant to be intentional, I do think that the snare did need a little bit more presence in the beat. But yeah, like I mentioned, overall, a nice melodic beat, a very nice J. Cole-ish sounding beat. But for the prompt itself, I would not say that it fit very well. Maybe we can, if I look in my phone right now, I have an idea of, maybe I can, while the next song is playing, look up another example of like high rhythm, low melody. So GG's beat is up next.
Why didn't you listen to me?
Delighted.
Delighted. Everything I told you was a lie. Delighted.
What happened? Why didn't you listen to me?
All right, that was Gigi's beat there with that chonky rabbit. The snare came like that. Oh, that makes it infinitely more tough to use if the snare has a reverb baked into it. There's nothing you can really do at that point. Red Bunny says, good beat. Nice little drop, says Sean. So with this beat of Gigi's, I definitely do think it needed a little bit more. I would say it did fit the prompt. It was low in musicality, high in rhythm. I do feel as though the beat needed, once again, some sort of central sound that was the sort of driving force to add character. Again, it doesn't need to be musical, but overall I do feel like the sounds that were used in here were very novel. They weren't necessarily sort of pleasing or like unique. They very much depended on like some sort of almost like a novelty feeling of like the Metal Gear alert sound effect, for example. The bass was very stock sounding as well. To me, I just didn't really feel like it sat in the beat very well. Yeah, it just, I feel like with his beat, the core idea of it just needed something different, as opposed to the sort of very piercing, harsh sounding bass, which was a sort of cornerstone of the beat. So yeah, Gigi, I'm interested to hear what you come up with for the next challenge, though. Shawnee, old boy. Let's see what Sean has for us.
Make me hot.
All right, that was Too Old. Is that your producer name? You're a young man to me, don't worry. Nice EQ changes and drum patterns, very cool. Vox samples. I like the beat that lacks musicality, but it wasn't 60 to 70 BPM. Gotcha. Yeah, I'm not big on skit beats. Yeah, I'm not big on those either. How they sort of like shoehorn an entire like vocal skit to fill up space. To me, that oftentimes means there's like sort of masking the sort of lack of fullness in the beat. Depends on which part of the bass. Most of it was a little chilled down, but when it came in with a lot of saturation, was a little bit jarring. Yeah. Yeah, see, all the beats, including mine, have that same emptiness. So I'm trying to remember which song of that I was sort of looking at. I apologize. 1 second here. So here's one example that comes to mind here.
Money talks, niggas walk. Young Reagan, I'll be damned if I take a loss. Cut it up, I ship it off. Young fat, I triple dad, I'm never wrong. Bitch nigga, I'm the bad man, the bad man. Made a meal from the acting, the acting. With the stacks, I put crack on spreadsheets. I wish that bitch nigga would try to get me. I said I'm JPEG Mafia, all caps, no spaces. Coons be catching feelings, my niggas catch cases. I open hands.
Let me show you a better example, actually. Whoops. So this tune here does a good job of like filling up space, but not necessarily with like melodic sounds here.
In the sky, I'll never get out. He's turned them all against me. Even Betty. They keep talking about me. Why won't they let me alone? Oh my God. Oh no, don't let them take me in there. I'll never get out. Oh God, what will happen to me now?
So you can hear that weird, like, constant sound that's like sort of behind the hi-hat or maybe on top of the hi-hat. Just a very unique sounding sort of rhythmic, I don't know, texture that like really drives the beat. In terms of the actual bass line, it's not super melodic. It's just one long 808, and then there's a sort of more musical phrase at the tail end of each, I think 4-bar loop. But yeah, I believe this would be around 60 to 70 BPM, and it sort of fits the idea here. I'm a big Ivy Lab fan also. Their beats are just insane. They both have a lot of different rhythm, but still have that driving sound that you're talking about. So yeah, with this, it's just like that weird sound that's sitting on the, I think it's a sort of higher frequency, but yeah, it's just such a unique, cool sound. That's the sort of focal point when the beat's very stripped down and bare. It's just that sort of long 808 and the sort of drums, but he also has the Ivy Lab sort of added that sort of unique texture that sits there that's sort of driving the beat along. Yeah, noise sound. So even though it's not like super musical, it does have a tiny bit of musicality. It sort of does go up and down, it sounds like, with its pitch. Like, it might be a pitch bend, but nonetheless, even if it is very stagnant, just the way it's used is just fills up a lot of space. There's one other Ivy Lab beat. I can't remember which one it is, but I don't know why I keep putting Lav. Was it Cake? I think this one's a little bit more melodic.
Boy, I got my mind on cake.
That one's a bit more melodic. I apologize. I thought I saved it into my playlist, but I can't find it. Oh, maybe it's Suzuki, actually. I think this one's it. No, this one's a very melodic song. I'll keep looking for it, but we'll continue on with these beats here in the meantime. Deleg's up next. right, that was Deleg. The beat's called Fast. That was a very good beat. Well done, Deleg. That was a very full, very rich sounding beat. I liked it. I enjoyed the arrangement of the beat. It had the verse section and the hook section very well put together. Really cool, unique rhythms overall. The way you program the hi-hat especially, that's sort of in and out instead of just having like a repetitive hi-hat pattern that constantly plays. I really liked how the hi-hat like sort of played for like a part of the bar and then nothing and then part of the bar. Really unique idea there. I really like the sounds that you used for the rhythms as well. Red Octane, this definitely has what we were talking about with that high-end pad ethereal sound constantly playing in the lower end pad, and the hats almost feel like a synth stutter. Harmiter, I've noticed Deleg's beats are good, but the structure needs a better arrangement. Personally, I didn't have a problem with the arrangement with this beat. I really liked it. I will say though, in terms of the prompt, the challenge here, the way you added variation to the arrangement was you using musical patterns. So example of that would be the sort of warped bells that you added in. Those were very musical, but nonetheless, I do think the sound selection of this beat was pretty awesome, and the beat overall was just a nice sounding beat. So I really enjoyed it, Deleg. Awesome beat overall. So I found another example of the Ivy Lab tune that I was looking for here. Dresden Codex. So this beat's a little bit, it has a very repetitive phrase that is a bit musical, but if you listen to how they fill up space throughout the beat, it's very smartly done.
You like it when it's quiet?
I find it too noisy, this
So notice those layers coming in and out. They're not necessarily musical. There's just like these blaring drones, and that's just a great way to fill up space in the beat. So that's just another example I want to show you guys of my sort of thinking of what low musicality, high rhythm. So it's not like there's this beautiful, huge progression with the actual musicality of this beat. It's just that basic, I don't know how many notes it is, but it's just very repetitive and short. But the way that the beat is sort of filled up is with these sort of very monotone, very large sounding drones in the back, and there's a lot of like automation on the sounds in terms of which spaces they fill up, and there's a lot of like hard cuts in terms of like getting rid of certain sounds and playing around with the arrangement. Just a very intuitive, I can't even say the word, very smart way of filling up space in the beat overall. Heath, how's it going? I feel like I'm at a rave, way too zooted. Rob is disgusted with his beat, I think. I unfortunately need to get running. All right, man. It's good having you here. Was a hard challenge, but really enjoyed the beats. Stoked for the next one. Yeah, I think the next one's going to be a fun one. So yeah, I'll see you next time. We'll jump into these last two beats. J Fatal. Let's hear what you got. All right. That was J Fatal, Jesse's beat there. This the grime I love it, says Heath. Rob says he's out of here. Wait, does it mean he's off to my meeting or you're done your meeting? Oh, I just got here. My meeting's over. Agreed. This is a good one. That's the ish for sure. The melody loop is simple, incredibly simple yet rich at the same time. So yeah, hypnotic feels. This is a very 3/6 fucking can't even speak. 3/6-ish type of techniques in here. I guess not with the drums, but like that sort of vocal sample. But yeah, this to me it fits the prompt very, very well. So the beat's not very melodic. It's the same sort of two bass notes playing over and over again, but the sort of corner idea here, just a very unique, weird rhythmic sound. That beat was dope. Personally, I wish it was a tiny bit higher in the BPM, says Rob. But yeah, it's like this sort of weird stuttering sound that sort of repeats very similar notes, but it's just such a unique texture that's good enough to like keep the listener's attention and really have it be the sort of focus of the beat. And I think everyone in the chat sort of definitely agrees that sort of melody loop is just, yeah, incredibly rich yet incredibly simple yet rich at the same time, says Coolant. By the way, Coolant, I don't know if you're here for your beat, but your beat was freaking awesome too, so really good job with your beat also. But yeah, I love this beat. The smaller hi-hats in the beat also, the small percussive sounds as well, just really smart way to sort of add small attention to detail in the back. I got really nothing negative to say here. You sort of had this sort of hook section and the verse section. Throughout the beat, you had the sort of vocal samples that came in. So yeah, I think this was just a great beat here by J Fatal, and it fit the prompt very well. So kudos to Jay Fatal. And now we got the Bunny's beat coming up last. Let's see what the Bunny has for us. All right, that was the Bunny, Red Bunny, back again. Harmiter mentioned he liked this one. Dish the Washer, Eric says fire. Yeah, I really liked the percussive sounds in here. Very good, unique sounds overall. A lot of character to them, and they fill up a lot of space, so I think that was very, very well done. I think the balance of the beat was kind of off. I felt like the bass was not very, very quiet, but a little bit more quiet than the percussive sounds. Some of the percussive sounds were a bit sort of overwhelming and very, very upfront. And I think, once again, to the point that I was making last time, I think if Bunny used the sound that he had in the second half of the beat, that was not very melodic. It was, it sounded like it was a sort of distorted guitar in a way. I'm not sure exactly what the sound was, but I think if you use that for more of the beat, that would have been a nice sort of POI for me to sort of focus on. But overall, I would say the sort of heavy distortion on the 808 really did make it unique, and I think the rhythmic elements were very, very unique as well. It's from the S1 kit. Oh, interesting. Which the percussive sounds were from the S1 kit. Cool drum sounds and pattern, nice bass line, and interesting mix of sounds. Yeah, very unique sounds for sure. I think the sort of balancing maybe could have helped the beat feel a little bit more full and have a little bit more emphasis on that very, very distorted bass. Yeah, I think this was overall a tough challenge, partly due to my inept instructions, so I apologize. Hopefully you guys got a better idea of what I mentioned, or sorry, what I was sort of aiming for as we listen to more beats, and I also played a few examples. So if we do something like this next time, where I sort of have this idea, maybe I'm probably gonna think of a better way to sort of explain my idea through examples, like I did with the sort of with the beats that I showed you guys. I think all of them, not sure though. Oh, every single sound was used. Red Bunny's trying to do two birds, one stone here. My challenge plus S1's challenge. Wild. Yeah, hopefully next time around, I know a lot of you guys enjoy the sampled challenges. So with this one, you cannot solely rely on the sample. You must use your own, you know what, I'm gonna put your own musical sounds and layers in addition to the sample. So using just drums plus a sample or just drums plus a bass is not enough. What I'm hoping for is that you guys, create your own chord progression or your own melody in conjunction with the sample. So that's the intent with that challenge. We should revisit this challenge. I think I would like to do this one again now that you guys hopefully have a better idea of what the hell I was even talking about. So I think that would be a good idea, Harmiter. Overall, though, hopefully you guys had a good little run here. So right now it's April. I've had the thought of announcing it's still 2 months away. The next summer challenge is probably going to be from mid-June to mid-July. So that way, you guys, when I'm in Europe, it's not going to interrupt the challenges because we'll have the actual competition. So incoming is a snare, a musical sound. Someone might ask that. So keep an eye out for the next competition. That's going to start in 2 months. Very, very premature for me to actually announce this, but nonetheless, I thought I'd tell you guys. Hopefully you guys have heard some awesome beats. I definitely do recommend checking Ivy Lab because I freaking love them. And I will see you guys in 2 weeks for the next sample challenge. Until then, goodbye. Bye-bye.